Hello and welcome. I'm Michael Tilden, EOS Implementer, and I'm going to give you a short but hopefully useful overview of EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And so to start out, I just want to mention that EOS is a system created by Gino Wickman to effectively manage and orchestrate all of the moving parts of a business, because the truth is business leaders and business owners every day are juggling about 136 different things all at the same time. And so Gino made this discovery that if you could strengthen what he called the 6 key components of a business, those 136 things that you're juggling are just going to melt away and fall into place, because those things are really just weaknesses in one of the 6 key components. That's the root cause of all problems in a business, is a weakness in one of the 6 key components. And so what I'd like to do here is very briefly first explain what the 6 key components are, give a tiny bit of detail to each one of the 6 key components, and then explain exactly how the company you're working in is implementing EOS in their business with something we call the EOS proven process. And then finally, I'll give you a recommendation about an ebook, a free ebook that I can send you that you should read prior to your first full day session. So if that sounds like a good plan to you, let's get right after it. All right, as promised, the first thing I want to do is I want to help you understand what the 6 key components of the business are. And so right here we have something we call the EOS model. And the EOS model contains the 6 key components, and it shows us visually the components that we're going to strengthen together on the journey that the company you're working for has decided to embark upon. And so first and foremost, we'll start with the vision component. And the vision component is very simple. It's about getting everybody 100% on the same page with where a business is going and how it plans to get there. Component number 2 is the people component. You cannot achieve a great vision unless you have great people, and all businesses tend to define what it means to be a great person slightly differently. And so we're just going to cut through all that red tape and just get right to the heart of what it means to be a right person in your unique business. Now, the third key component is the data component. And the data component is simple. It's just about running a business on facts and figures and cold, hard information, as opposed to the all too often feelings and egos and subjective information that way too frequently is running the decision-making process of an entrepreneurial business. Now, when you strengthen vision, people, and data in a business, all of your problems and challenges and obstacles and things that are holding you back, they become immediately apparent because your business is now transparent. And what we mean by that is you're going to know what your issues are. And that is our 4th key component. Issues is all about being able to recognize your issues, prioritize them, set them up, knock them down, and make them go away forever so that you don't have to live through the business deja vu of solving the same problems over and over again. Now, the 5th key component is the process component. And process is all about getting the most important stuff in a business done the right and the best way every single time. This truly is what creates consistency and scalability in a business. It makes the business more profitable, easier to manage, and believe it or not, you'll have a lot more fun when your process component is sufficiently strengthened. Now, last and certainly not least is the traction component. And traction is about bringing this vision down to the ground and executing on it day in and day out with discipline, focus, and accountability. Now, see, it's not an accident that vision is at the top of the model and traction is at the bottom of the model, because if you can't bring a vision down to the ground and execute on it, well, we have a saying in EOS, vision without traction is just hallucination. And so these are the 6 key components. That was the brief introduction. Now, very briefly, I'm going to mention how we strengthen each of those 6 key components. And so we're going to come right back to the vision component, and I'm going to tell you about 2 tools and disciplines that help strengthen that vision component. The first is something we call the 8 questions. Rather than a lengthy strategic planning process, we boil your vision down to 8 simple questions on a 2-page document that we call the Vision Traction Organizer. And these 8 questions are: what are your core values? What is your core focus? What is your 10-year target? What is your marketing strategy? What is your 3-year picture? What is your 1-year plan? What are your rocks? And what are your issues, or what's on your issues list? Now, we're not going to do a deep dive into the VTO today because this is meant to be a much shorter introduction to EOS. So the next key component, or rather the next discipline to strengthen the vision component, is something we call shared by all. And shared by all is a mechanism to help assure that everybody in your business, whether it's 5 people, 10 people, or 500, all share the same vision, because everybody has to share the vision so that they can all begin to row in the same direction. Because if you can get everyone in a business rowing in the same direction, that is when magic happens. That's when planets align, and that's when businesses take off like a rocket ship. And so that's strengthening the vision component. Next, people component. This is about 2 key concepts we call right people and right seats. We'll just take them briefly one at a time. First, right people. These are people who match your company's core values. The company has core values, the essential set of guiding characteristics that define what it means to be a right person, the culture that you're building. Right people simply match and exhibit your core values frequently. Next, right seats. Right seats simply refers to the fact that not only do you have to have right people, but they've got to be doing a good job. It's not enough just that you love them and you want to be surrounded by them. That's great, but it's only half the story. The second half of the story is they've got to be doing a good job. They have to be using their talents and experiences and wisdom and training and education and knowledge to do a great job in exactly what the company needs them to do. And so when you get 100% right people sitting in 100% right seats, that's what we call 100% strong in the people component. Next, very quickly, data. I mentioned this is about boiling the business down to facts and figures and objective information. And the way that we do that is first and foremost with something we call a company scorecard. A scorecard is a list of 5 to 15 high-level numbers that will give your business a pulse, that will give you a pulse on the business day in and day out. You'll know exactly what's on track and what's off track so that you are immediately notified of any issues in the middle of a week that you need to get back on track before they become systemic problems, only realizing at the end of the month, quarter, or heaven forbid, at the end of the year. So then once we've got a great company scorecard, those 5 to 15 numbers that we're tracking every week, we then push that discipline down into the organization at all levels of the company until every member in the company has 1, 2, or 3 measurables. And a measurable is just a number that I, one of your 50 employees, am individually accountable for keeping on track week in and week out. And it just helps me connect to the mission of the company, know exactly what's expected of me, my weekly behaviors that I need to keep on track every single week. Having a scorecard at the company level and pushing that discipline down and getting everybody to the point where they've got at least one number, that's what we would call 100% strong in the data component. Next, the issues component, the 4th key component here. Remember I said when vision, people, and data are sufficiently strengthened, you are going to know what your issues are. And so the first discipline is something that we call an issues list. This is a culture and a discipline we're going to build in the company whereby anytime there's a problem anywhere in the organization, people feel completely comfortable immediately calling it out, raising their hand and saying, hey, we got an issue here, put it on the issues list. That's the first step. Then we need to move on to the second step, which is something we call IDS, which stands for identify, discuss, and solve. So IDS, identify, discuss, solve. This is a process that Gino invented years ago that helps business leaders stay on track when they're solving issues, because specifically what we find is that business leaders rarely identify a root cause to a problem and rarely agree on a unified plan of action to get it solved. Instead, what happens is it's all discussion. When we decide we're going to solve a problem, we put it on the table and then it's just discussion, discussion, discussion over and over. We get rid of that roadblock by following the IDS acronym in that order. So first, after we've prioritized the list, we make sure we're only solving the issues that need to be solved today, the first, second, and third most important issues. We then tackle issue number one and we identify a root cause. Then once we know what the root cause is, we have a brief discussion. Once the discussion starts to feel circular, you start to hear the same things, you just cut it off, no more discussion, put the solutions on the table. What will solve this issue and make it go away forever? Those action items become to-dos that are due next week. And we take that issue off the list and we IDS number 2 all over again. Then number 3, IDS. And you do that until you don't have any more time left in your issues solving session. When everyone in the business is using issues lists and IDS to solve their issues at the root and make them go away forever, that's what we would call 100% strong in the issues component. Next, the process component. Process component is designed to help you get the most important stuff in the business done the right and the best way every single time. Here's how that works. We start by assuming that every business on planet Earth has a handful of what we call core processes. The core processes that get the work done in the business, and we've got to make sure that those most important processes are done the right and the best way every time. That's what's going to create consistency and scalability in a business. And so the first thing that we're going to do once we know what those core processes are is we're going to help you document them. And we're going to document them in a very specific entrepreneurial method. We call this the 20/80 approach, meaning we're going to document 20% of the steps of any process to get you 80% of the way done. There's no 100% of the steps to get 100% of the way done in an entrepreneurial company. We don't do that because if we did, we'd wind up with a process manual or an SOP manual that's 700 pages long and nobody ever reads it, nobody ever uses it, so what was the point? Instead, just the high-level steps of every single core process, 20% of the steps, 80% of the way there. That's repeatable consistency in a business that's growing and scaling. Once we've done that for every single core process, we then move on to a discipline called followed by all. And this is just a training mechanism to assure that every single person in the business who has their hand in one of those core processes has been trained to do it the right and the best way. They're being measured for the proper outcome or whatever the desire is of that process, and they're being managed to assure that it's getting done right. And that once a year, those processes are being updated. That's followed by all. And that's 100% strong in the process component. Finally, last but certainly not least is the traction component. And traction refers to getting your vision down to the ground and executing on it day in and day out with consistency and accountability. There's 2 tools and disciplines here. One is rocks and one is meetings. So let's start first with rocks because you got to be asking yourself, what in the world is a rock? A rock is a 90-day business priority. And so everyone in the company, starting first with the leadership team, but then eventually everyone in the leadership team will be on a discipline where every quarter they know exactly what their top 3 to 7 priorities are for that 90-day period. So it's very important that we begin to live inside of what we call the 90-day world. That's a part of achieving traction in a business. Here's what that should look like. For 90 days, everyone's got their head down and they're just chugging along and they're focused and they're executing in the business. But every 90 days, they just stop, take a deep breath, come up for air. We pause for a moment. We look back on the last 90 days. We ask, what did we get done? What did we not get done? Any key learnings we can extrapolate from that quarter? We then take a brief moment to reorient ourselves to the company vision because it's human nature. Every 90 days or so, we get off track. We just wander a little bit from where we're supposed to be headed. And so we just take a minute every quarter to realign to this wonderful vision. And once we've done that, we simply pick new priorities, new rocks for the coming quarter. And we go back into the business and we execute with discipline and focus and accountability. Every 90 days, forever. That's the 90-day world. Now, within that 90-day world, I have to help you with your meetings, because we've got to make sure that the time you spend together as a team is useful. It's a good usage of your time. You're going to invest a certain amount of time every week in a meeting pulse, a routine cadence of meetings. They've got to be worth the time. And so the specific meeting agenda we teach is something called the Level 10 meeting. And this meeting agenda was designed to raise the quality of meetings in an organization from an average of a 4 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10, which is why we call it a level 10 meeting. Very briefly, here's how a level 10 meeting works. It always starts with a quick segue. You've got to move yourself from in the business persona to on the business persona. And so just a quick 5-minute segue. From there, we're going to review all the important information, but only 5 minutes each. We don't have any 30 to 50-minute information dumps in a level 10 meeting. It's just going to be 5 minutes on a scorecard review, making sure your numbers are on track, 5 minutes on a rock review, making sure your priorities are on track, and a 5-minute customer and employee headline review to make sure that all of your customers and employees are doing well and taken care of. We then transition to the accountability portion of the meeting, a quick 5-minute review of your to-dos. To-dos are 7-day action items that we agreed to last week in the meeting. It's been 7 days, so they're due today. And so you're going to sit eyeball to eyeball with each other and say, did it get done? And you're going to go through that to-do list and just say, done, 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 not done, 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 done. We're looking for 90% or better on the to-dos. That's crucial accountability, and it's built into the level 10 meeting. From there, after all of that, we go to the largest section of your level 10 meeting, 60 minutes of a 90-minute weekly meeting. That's fully 2/3 of the meeting is devoted to IDSing your most important issues. And so together as a team, you'll prioritize the top 3 issues, and then you'll go to work IDSing them as I taught you previously in the issues component. When there's 5 minutes left, you simply cut off the IDS session because we always end on time. And you just really quickly recap the to-dos that are due next week. You're going to cascade information up and down the accountability chart. And finally, you're going to conclude the meeting by rating it on a scale of 1 to 10 because we're shooting for a level 10. Anything less than an 8 or below, that's an issue that belongs on your issues list. You got to ask yourselves next week, why did we have a bad meeting? And so that's the meeting pulse. And those are the 6 key components of EOS. Very briefly now, we're going to transition to talk about the EOS process. This is the specific process that the business you're working for now is already a part of. And so your business will be at various different stages of the EOS process. And so I'm just going to hit it really, really quickly. So this is the EOS process. It's how we do business every time we work with a client. It starts with a 90-minute meeting with the leadership team. You're getting some of that information here in this brief overview, but not all of it. You're getting just a snippet of it. From there, the business transitions into 3 foundational days. These are all full day sessions, but they're foundational, and so they're 30 days apart. The first is a focus day where we learn about a concept called hitting the ceiling. We then start on the accountability chart, we set rocks, we teach meeting pulse, and we craft a first draft of a scorecard. That all happens in the very first full day. 30 days later, we come back for vision building day 1. And the purpose of vision building day 1 is to review the focus day tools, get them to their next best iteration, and then begin answering as many questions on the VTO as we can. By the end of the day, we go home wherever we stopped. Let's say we made it to 10-year target. We just stopped for the day. 30 days later, we come back for vision building day 2. We perfect the focus day tools, making sure that all of the kinks and the bugs have been worked out and the leadership team has mastered them. We then continue answering the questions on the VTO, those 8 vision questions that I referenced earlier, so that at the end of 3 days working together, just 60 days in, the leadership team has mastered focus day tools and they've got a clear and compelling vision ready to roll out to the rest of the organization. From there, the business transitions into what we call execution mode. And what this means is they are on a cadence of quarterly planning every 90 days and once a year, a 2-day annual planning session. And so it's an every 90-day kind of a thing that every 90 days you're going to have a quarterly, and then once a year that quarterly turns into 2-day annual planning. And what you do there is you always start by reviewing the prior quarter, seeing what got done, what didn't get done, realigning ourselves to the vision, learning about EOS, implementing new EOS tools, solving problems together, and deciding what's important for the next quarter. And that is the 90-day world that EOS companies stay on forever. So that is the fastest overview of EOS, the tools, the EOS process that you're jumping into and your company has already been in. They are at some stage in this process, somewhere along the line. And so I hope this has been a really good introduction and use of your time. If you have any questions at all, please contact me. Remember, the homework coming out of this overview is to read an ebook, a free ebook that I'm going to provide for you that contains 20 EOS terms that you need to know so that you're not feeling like you're in acronym purgatory, that you don't know what any of these words or acronyms or terminology that we're using, because there's quite a bit of language that you'll need to learn. But don't worry, I will help you with that. Just get used to those terms with this free ebook. And with that, that's your assignment. I can't wait to see you at the next full day session. Reach out to me with any comments or concerns. Have an awesome day.